I'm Mel,
And I'm Andrea.
and we've been asking ourselves, WTF? Where's the fun?
So, welcome to our podcast for heart-led business leaders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs ready for more. More impact, more wealth, more joy, and more magic, all while having even more fun than ever before.
As co-founders of FunX, we believe that life and business is way more fulfilling when you're following the fun.
So, we're flipping the script on success, giving you permission to create from a whole new paradigm where you can have a lasting impact while nurturing your well-being and having a freaking blast along the way.
So join us each week for engaging solo episodes
and real conversations with experts who are embodying this new paradigm of leadership, spiritual wealth, business growth, and of course, fun.
If you're ready to reignite your spark, make bold moves, and lead from a whole new energy, let's jump in and have some fun.
Today, we are joined by Bean Gill. She is an award-winning advocate, neurorecovery specialist, and co-founder of ReYu Paralysis Recovery Centre. And after becoming paralyzed from the waist down due to a virus, Bean didn't just rebuild her life, she redefined what's possible. And we went deep in this episode, but there's so much, I think, truth and power and wisdom that comes from Bean and her approach. And I know you're going to love this episode. So let's jump in. So welcome back to WTF, Where's the Fun? I'm Andrea, and today we have a special guest. So excited for today. Welcome, Bean Gill.
Thank you.
Woohoo! I'm excited. I'm excited to chat about all the things. I feel like we could talk about many different things, and I feel like today is going to be a powerful conversation. I know the first time that we spoke, which really wasn't all that long ago, I feel like I've learned so much from you, and I love your approach. I love your honesty. I love how you're willing to have some pretty meaningful conversations. And I know today is going to be, I think, a really powerful mix of that, but also some joy and fun and some incredible perspectives. So just to give people some context, do you want to share a little bit about who you are, what you're up to, a little bit about your journey?
Sure, I'd love to. Well, my story is pretty public and it's available almost everywhere. So, but in a nutshell, so I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, fellow Canadian like you. And in 2012, so coming up in July, it'll be 13 years that I was paralyzed by a virus that attacked my spinal cord. And as you can imagine, flipped your life upside down. You just have no idea what life is going to be, if you have a future, what that's going to look like. And it really made me come face to face with my biases, stigmas, and stereotypes towards people with disabilities. And we all have them. Every single person has them. And it's, are you willing to look at that? Are you willing to be honest with yourself and what you actually think of people with disabilities? Because now that's me. And do I want to be all of these things? And, my thought was that they're lazy, they're unsuccessful, they're a burden, they're unhealthy. And I came to this conclusion after peeling back the layers, right? And most of this I learned from media. Like that's where I mainly saw people with disabilities, was on TV. And they're portrayed as, oh, the poor, pathetic person. Oh, too bad for them, right? So now this is me sitting in this wheelchair. And I don't want to be all of those things. So I had to dismantle those and then create new ones. And so, now I help other people do the same kind of thing. And it's a ugly, ugly process. But the beauty that comes out of it is worth going through the ugliness. My story is very complex and crazy, but I did open a paralysis recovery center here in Edmonton after traveling around to find the therapy for myself. We're coming up on, we've been open for 8.5 years now, which is wild.
Wow.
It's so crazy. It's called ReYu Paralysis Recovery Center. And from that, that's given me quite a few accolades. I'm very grateful. I won a lot of awards for my work there. And also, once you become paralyzed or you have a disability, you automatically become an advocate, because if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody else will. And sure, we live in Canada, but the healthcare system, basically you get what you pay for, and we don't pay anything, so we don't get anything. Basically, right? I mean, it has its pros for sure, but it's not what people think it is. And so advocacy is a big piece of life. And then, yeah, speaking kind of came from all of this. And I love being on stages, sharing my story and tips and stuff. And I like making people uncomfortable, because that's where we grow. And then I think I ran into you on Instagram, right? And I was like,
So
who's this girl? And then I saw you were in Canada. I was like, oh, she's in Canada. Oh my gosh, let's be friends.
yeah, I think that's literally what happened. I feel like she's Canadian, I'm Canadian. How fun.
Yeah. So yeah.
And sorry, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, that's all.
I feel like, yes. And I feel like there's so much, like, even when we first chatted, you shared a bit about your story. And I think there is, and I was just talking to a client about this, I think there is an element of our stories can get us stuck. And I think that's part of what you're saying as well. It's like our stories, but also our biases and also other people's and like all this stuff. And I also think in sharing some of the things, there's also some beautiful lessons, and there's perspectives, and there's some really cool stuff that comes through just being able to share. So one of the things that I found really, and we didn't even dive into it in our first conversation, but you mentioned something and it really stuck with me, because this is some of the work that I do with my clients, and not necessarily directly related, but you were mentioning about how you had experienced your paralysis, and then you mentioned very briefly, so this is what I want to like touch base on and unpack a little bit, just because I'm so curious, is you were saying, and part of it was you weren't allowing yourself to feel. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, for sure, Ken. So before I was paralyzed, so first and foremost, I'm East Indian. So my parents are from India. I was born here in Canada. And in our culture, open, honest communication isn't something that's prevalent. We're not really taught that. And so it wasn't modeled to me. I didn't learn how to communicate properly. I grew up bottling everything up inside, sweeping everything under the rug, exploding, because that's what happens. And so I didn't really know how to deal with life or trauma or anything. And so I was married for 4.5 years. And I always say like 2012 was, and I hope remains, the worst year of my life, because I went through so much trauma in that year. And so, yeah, all of this happened in 2012. So like I said, I wasn't able to communicate. I didn't know how to. I couldn't speak my truth unless I was drunk. And, like I said, I was married. I was not in a happy marriage. I was not happy in it, but I wasn't able to communicate that. And so then, I was really good at numbing myself, and I would drink copious amounts of alcohol. I was using other substances, just to kind of like numb myself, right? I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to feel the hurt, the pain, the awkwardness, the uncomfort. I didn't want to feel any of that. So I just numbed myself. And, people just don't use substance to numb themselves. I also used work, cleaning, shopping, so many other things you can do to distract yourself from, the trauma and stuff that you don't want to feel. Ultimately, that's what landed me in this wheelchair, was numbing myself and trying to escape from it, trying to run away from it. And then when I was paralyzed, I was in the hospital, and my best friend, who is a life coach, she says to me, Bean, this is God literally stopping you in your tracks so you can deal with your shit.
Wow. I just got chills.
Yeah. And yeah, she was right.
And what was your response to that?
I just said, yeah. Like, yeah, you're right. Because like, I can try to bury my head in the sand and be like, no, I'm not stressed. And no, I'm not, but I spent so many years doing that, like, hiding and running away. And now it's just like literally I'm stuck in this hospital bed, cannot move without somebody helping me. I'm literally stuck here. And all I have is my thoughts. There's no running away. And you're in a hospital. You think they're going to bring you alcohol or anything in a hospital?
Yeah.
Well, they're not. And so you got to deal with your stuff, right? And that's what I had to do.
Yeah, and it honestly, it takes courage to do. Like it really does. So, do you feel like there was anything in particular that helped you to move through that?
Yeah, my psychologist for sure. So, when I was initially paralyzed, I was misdiagnosed with conversion disorder, which they now call FND, functional neurologic disorder. Basically, it's psychosomatic. So your brain is creating these symptoms in your body, and it's real. People do it all the time. I've recently just had shoulder pain with no physical reason for it. It's in my head. It's my stress. It's formulating itself physically. And so when I, came back to Canada because I was in the States and I was paralyzed, um, the first thing I needed to do was find a psychologist. And so I went through the healthcare system, right? The free system, thinking that, oh,
Mhm.
this is great. I'm going to be able to get the therapy I need. Except I didn't get an appointment with a psychologist in the system for 3 months. And so I was like, all right, well, I can't wait 3 months. So I kept that appointment. But in the meantime, I looked for a private psychologist, found one, and just paid out of pocket because I needed it. And I started doing therapy 3 times a week. And then it went down to 2 times a week, and then once a week, and then once every 2, once every 3, once every 4. And now it's kind of like a as is, as needed basis. But I still see her to this day, which is the important piece. She has challenged me. She's like just called me on my bullshit, right? And provided me so many tools. I don't know if you can see my imaginary tool chest right next to me. It's hot pink and covered in crystals. Um, but she's given me this, and she's allowed me to like really work through so much of my trauma and stuff. And with that has allowed me to teach other people how to do it too.
Yeah, and is that a lot of the stuff that you speak on stage about?
It's part of it. Yeah, definitely a part of it. I mean, it also depends like who my audience is and like
Mm.
what the theme is and what the kind of the client wants out of the presentation. But I definitely talk about psychology in every speech, and I firmly believe that every person on this planet should have a psychologist, a counselor, a coach, somebody that they can talk to who will give them objective opinions and tools to move through it, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of, bad psychologists out there that don't give good advice. And so finding those good ones is important.
Finding the right person for you, for
Yeah.
sure. So then what would you say is because I know like you have maybe just from an outside perspective, I would say one of the things that you have, I think you have a great attitude towards life and even challenges and possibilities. Can you share more about maybe even some of your beliefs around that or some of the things that would be helpful for others when it
Mm.
comes to challenges or obstacles and mindset?
Sure. I mean, I think faith is huge. And faith in whatever you want to have that faith in. I grew up in a Sikh household. Sikhism, right, was our religion. And my dad is extremist in it. And so, like, we didn't have a choice. You were raised in this religion. This is what you will believe. This is when you will believe it. This is how you will believe it. And so, as I became an adult, like religion left a really bad taste in my mouth. And then being paralyzed, I was like, all right, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I'm such a good person, why am I sitting in this chair and my idiot ex isn't? Right. And so I had a big like conversation with God when I was paralyzed, laying in that hospital bed. And I was angry and I lost faith in God. But I found faith in the universe. Right. And it's funny how we just change the words and it becomes like, okay. Right. And so that's why I was saying, like, have faith in whatever you want to have faith in. And like Gabby Bernstein, right? The Universe Has Your Back. One of my friends gave me that book. And I just firmly believe that the universe has my back. And I always know that everything will always work out because it always does. And, you know, I've been saying that my whole life, that everything always works out for us. Everything always works out. And then everything ends up working out. Right. And so I didn't really recognize that I was actually manifesting these outcomes by saying things like that and believing it until, like, you know, doing a lot of this work after being paralyzed and being 30 plus years old. Right. Like, you just learn so much about what life is. And so, yeah, I think having that faith that, like, you know, either it's your spirit guides or your angels, or maybe it's God. And I think God's a girl because that just makes it easier for me to believe. But, you know, just having that faith that, like, there's something bigger than us here, and whatever that is, it's protecting you and it's guiding you. You just have to be open to letting it guide you and letting it protect you. And yeah, welcoming that.
Today's episode of WTF, Where's the Fun? Is sponsored by The Fun Experience, a curated mastermind for established business owners, entrepreneurs, and CEOs ready for more. More magic, more joy, more wealth, and more fun than ever before. So if you're ready for a peer-to-peer mastermind that's helping you to embody more leadership, more impact, and make bold moves, The Fun Experience is where it's at. Yeah, Mel and I, we have this, I guess, saying, it's like the universe didn't bring us this far just to bring us this far. And things always work out. It's kind of the same as you. And sometimes it's easier to believe it than others. But I think you when the shit hits the fan, when you have those truth statements, you have to actually believe it. And even when you don't believe it, you still, there's part of you that does believe it. I think that is so important, not only for impressing your subconscious, just like what you're saying, but also like having something bigger than you to see. And I think this is where having that outside support is also good too. Someone that knows what they're talking about, but also can hold that bigger vision for you, that perspective. I think, that it makes such a big difference, especially when you're really needing that extra bit of support.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So faith, anything else?
I mean, I don't know. I think just like, having belief in yourself, you know, like kind of like what you said about like what life is, right? Like, I don't know. Everybody has their own beliefs about what life is and, you know, why we're here on this planet and all these things. But like, I don't know. I believe that we're here to learn lessons, and I have had so much adversity in my life, and like, I'm only 43. All right. And I plan to be 109. So I know there's going to be
109. That is such a like accurate number.
That's my goal. But like, so I just know there's a lot more adversity coming. I know there is. And so I think that if you are prepared and you do the things daily to prepare yourself for these adversities, when they come, they're not going to knock you over. They might knock you down, but they're not going to knock you over. Right? Because like, this is just what life is. If people are out there expecting life to be easy and fair, let me pop that bubble right now, because that's not going to happen. It's not. And so it took me a long time to really realize that and to understand that, and to understand that I picked the short straw. I picked the short straw being born into this world. And like, So I have to fortify my faith. I have to fortify my perseverance, my courage, my bravery, and that has to come to the forefront, because if I don't, I won't be here any longer. It'll take me down.
Yeah. One of my mentors, Dr. John DeMartini, he's a human behavior expert. And one of the things he always said is like one of the biggest reasons for human misery is expecting no challenges in our life. And I'm like, ain't that the truth? It's like we're really expecting to like cruise through life like completely unscathed and be like, I nailed it. It's like it's not necessarily, or I think another analogy would be like you go to a park. And this is something I used to teach. I used to teach this one workshop. And part of the workshop was there's always equal support and challenge. And if we think of coming here on earth almost like you choose your challenge, and like some of us choose the challenge of I don't know, the challenges are going to art camp. So there's some challenge, but it's really not all that challenging. So there's not that much, like it's not going to be anything crazy. But then some people come and they're like, I want the athletic camp, or I want the something that's slightly more challenging. And then there's some of us that come here and we're like, I want the Navy SEAL boot camp, where it's like hard and challenging. And because of that, we equally get to live an extraordinary life because of the amount of things that we get to learn and grow. And again, yeah, it's not necessarily easy in a traditional sense, but the amount of, I think, blessings that can come out of it if we so choose,
Yeah.
can be pretty extraordinary. So maybe your soul's just like, you know what? I'm picking the Navy SEAL boot camp.
Come on, man. I'm tired.
You were very ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, I that's something that I believe too, is that you choose your adversities before you are born. And when I first heard that theory, and I was like, why did I choose this? Why this? Like I couldn't have picked something easier to deal with than paralysis. But it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. And you've done some incredible things, I would say, for the community as well. Like,
Thank you.
talk about how you created basically, what is it even called? What's the name of the center you've created?
ReYu, ReYu.
ReYu.
Yeah, ReYu.
So how did that come about?
Well, that kind of came about through necessity, right? Like I love that phrase, necessity breeds innovation, because it totally does. And you know, after I was paralyzed, I mean, as I was laying there on the hospital bed, I was literally watching my leg muscles melt. It was wild. And this was like within a day. Within a day, my muscles started melting away. And I was like, I've been working out since I was 12 years old. I had big, strong legs. I was doing kickboxing. My roundhouse kick was so strong. And now my muscles are just melting. And so I knew I need to do physio. I need to move my body. I need to move these legs so that I can maintain what I have, or, you know, gain more. And so I went through the traditional physio route when I got home to Canada, because when I was in the States, they didn't want to start anything because they knew I'd be coming back here. And so I was in the hospital there for 12 days. And in 12 days, I lost a lot of muscle mass. And so, yeah, I came back, I started doing physio, went through the whole thing, went through the rehab hospital, like did all the, you know, step-by-step things that people do when you're injured. But was very disappointed in the strength of the physios, first and foremost. My legs are very strong, like they're very spastic and they're muscular, right? Like you got to be strong if you're going to lift my legs. And a lot of people couldn't even lift my legs up. And then that makes me lose faith in you because of like, what? Like you can't even lift my leg and you're supposed to help me learn how to walk again? Nah, please. And so then, you know, I found out about activity-based therapy centers. And then so I went traveling to one's in Regina. I went there for a week with my mom. And then there's one in Calgary. So I was driving there every Friday. We would drive there for 3 hours, work out for 2 hours, come back. And then we went to California for 3 weeks, and that is where I saw the biggest change in my body in 1 week. In 1 week, they had me standing on my flat feet. I was supported, but in proper form, proper posture. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, oh my God, okay, give me your Kool-Aid. I'll drink it. Whatever you're selling, I'm buying. Like, let's go. And I came back with franchise papers because
Really?
yeah, because I met a handful of Albertans down there who bought houses in Oceanside, California to access this therapy.
Wow.
That's the level of commitment these people made to go to this therapy. And it's not cheap. Back then in 2013, it was 110 US per hour. And I was doing 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's a lot of money. Plus hotel, flight, food, car, all the stuff, right? So it's a lot of money. And so I just figured, there's something here. And so not only did I come back with franchise papers, but while I was there, like all of the trainers are kinesiologists or exercise therapists. So I Googled kinesiology Edmonton. And because I was like, I want to find a kinesiology student to help me with my home program. Like somebody come to my house, work out with me, I'll pay you, right? We're good. And so I found the U of A, their faculty of kin, reached out to them. They put out a job posting. I got 12 responses back, one of whom was Nancy, who is now my business partner. And she's always wanted to do this work. She didn't know she could do it in Canada. And just to give you context, in Canada, there are 6 ABT centers across Canada. In California, there are more than 8 alone in California.
Wow.
Every single state has one, multiples in some. And I mean, yeah, their population is way bigger than ours, right? But we are just so in the dark ages. We're completely in the dark ages. And so in 2016, that's when Nancy and I decided to actually become business partners and do this, because up until then, Nancy was going around to people's houses to train them while still in school. And like, man, the results I was seeing was incredible. And I mean, she got me walking again. She got me to the point where I was walking with just holding on to one hand. And like, yeah, I've regained bowel control, bladder control. My core was so much stronger. I was able to cough and laugh and sneeze because I could contract my abs again, right? And so like choking is a really big scare in the spinal cord injury community, because if you can't cough, you will die, right?
Yeah.
And coughing comes from your diaphragm, comes from your abdominal muscles contracting to give you that pressure in order to cough. And so like there's so much more to this than just walking, which so many people think is just walking. So then, yeah, her and I became business partners, and, we kind of thought that, oh my gosh, like we're going to need like $150,000. Like, what are we going to do? But when you are in alignment with what the universe or God has in plan for you, let me tell you, the doors will open. You will meet the right people. And people ask me, like, was it hard for you to open ReYu? And I'm just like, not really. Not really, because literally everything just happened. And that's when you know you're in alignment. And so, yeah, we became a nonprofit. We got a marketing agency to take us on for free for our name and our tagline. We got a law firm to take us on for free to do all of our incorporation. Like just things rolled. And so we actually found a gym in Parkinson Association of Alberta in their building that they had just built that was fully equipped and underutilized. And so we're like, oh, well, could we rent this from you? And they're like, yep, for sure. And because they allowed us to rent with such low cost, we started ReYu with zero capital. Nancy and I didn't put any money into this. We didn't take any loans.
I literally have chills. And it's so true. The seemingly impossible becomes possible with, like, it's almost like magic because the alignment.
Yeah. And like, that's when I really realized, like, well, not then, but like maybe a year or two later, I realized like why I was paralyzed. This is why. It was meant to be Nancy and I. Because, before we opened ReYu, there was a handful of other people who tried opening an activity-based therapy center here in Edmonton. They never succeeded. It didn't get off the ground. And Nancy and I have created this. And like I said, we're 8.5 years running strong. We're at almost over 500 clients. Like, it's wild.
Wow.
It's wild.
That is incredible.
Yeah. It's insane. It's a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot. It takes a lot of work. It's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
For sure, running any kind of business, and then also like having a disability on top of it, and then also being women. Like, you should see how many people are shocked that I'm the owner, that I'm the boss. And then I'd be like, check your misogyny there. Check your sexism and your ableism at the door, because it's not welcome here. Right.
Yeah.
But it's breaking down these barriers and taking down those stigmas that people with disabilities don't work. People with disabilities don't have an education. They don't have families. Yes, we do.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't even make sense. If you really break it down, it's like, why not?
Because we're taught, right? We're taught
It's true.
that we don't. And a lot of us live in the medical model of disability, which states the person is the problem. We need to move to the social model of disability, which states the environment is the problem. But we're still stuck in the medical model. And we will be.
Well, I feel like we're stuck in a lot of things from definitely like eons ago that make pretty much no sense.
Yeah, I agree.
So for you personally, where or how in your life are you following the fun? So what's fun for you right now?
Good question. I'm actually going through the thick of it right now, to be quite honest, Andrea. Yeah, life is very hard right now. A lot of adversity from different places. But I mean, when we first spoke, and I think what we both resonated on was, fun. And after being paralyzed, my whole priorities, all of my priorities shifted. Prior to being paralyzed, the top of my priority list was money. Make money, get money, spend money, 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 money. And I was working as an x-ray tech, making 6 figures, had no responsibilities. So yeah, I lived a good life. I was just doing whatever I wanted. And then bam, you're paralyzed. Bam, you can't work anymore. Right? And yes, I was on long-term disability for 2 years, and I'm very, very grateful I had that. But then all of a sudden my income went from, 6 figures to 13,000 a year. And you realize real quick, like, okay, this can't be my priority. And so then fun went to the top of my priority list. So if I'm not having fun, what am I doing? And even like in this like tumultuous time that I'm in right now, like, I still have to look for the fun. I still have to prioritize fun, because if I don't, it's just going to be so much harder to go through all of this stuff, right? So yeah, what does fun look like to me right now? It's, playing with my niece and my nephew. I think little kids almost immediately can elevate your mood, and babies and kids are pure love. They are pure love. They don't have hatred. They don't have discrimination built into them yet, because it's taught. And so, on my really down days, and like my niece and my nephew, they live in our basement. We all live together. So obviously they come up here. But on a really down day, I would just like go like grab one of them and just like hug them. And then kind of like a Dementor from Harry Potter, just like, give me your love, give me your happiness, because you got lots of it and you can go get more. I need it right now. And so that's one. Or just playing, right? I love playing with them. They're, their imaginations are so wild, and it's just so fun to kind of remove yourself from what reality is to just go play for a little while. And then you really see like, okay, actually, this isn't that bad, or I can go through this and stuff. So that's a big piece. And then friends are a big part of my life as well. My friends bring in a lot of peace and joy and grounding. And it's important to have those like the proper people in those places for that, for sure. And my family, right? Like, my family is really awesome, super supportive. And so that's helpful in that regard. But yeah, and then just doing like what your heart desires. And sometimes for me, that's sitting on the sofa watching trash TV. And I love my trash TV.
Mel would agree. I'm not like a huge TV fan, and Mel will be like, I just need to watch like she likes more like the like super girly movies, and I'm like, I can't do it. And so like I just need it. I'm like, I fully support your decision as long as I don't have to participate. I'm like, go for it.
That's fair.
But yeah, like things for yourself. And I think that's part of it. Life isn't necessarily everything's all rainbows and butterflies all the time. How can you bring in fun while still feeling and experiencing and going through life? And I think that's part of it's like a dance almost of how to navigate, but also like, so I pulled this card. I'm going to read it because it's kind of funny, but it's kind of like ridiculous at the same time. It's called playfulness. So I'm a playful participant in life, and I always have the option to make something a fun game rather than a heavy burden. Mary Poppins puts sugar in the medicine for a reason. That lady knows how to party. And I think that's like part of it too. It's like sometimes it can feel like we got a responsibility. We have a mission. We have a lot of things on our plate, personally, professionally, all the things. It's like, and I think like, and I can tell your soul is pretty playful at the same time. So giving yourself permission to do that, I think is important.
Yeah, I fully agree. And just knowing that like, there's lessons in everything. And sometimes we spoke about earlier, like sometimes you don't want to learn a lesson, or you're like, I've already learned this lesson. Like, why am I still here? But, you figure that out afterwards once you've gone through the thing, right?
Yes.
But yeah, knowing that like everything happens for a reason and everything happens when it's supposed to. Just trust in that.
Yeah.
Even
That's
though
beautiful. So how can people learn more about you, what you're up to, all the things? And I'll make sure that this is included in the show notes as well.
Sure. So I guess to stay in touch with me, I'm most active on Instagram. My handle is Branzoid, BRANZOID. I'm also trying to be more active on LinkedIn. Trying for that. And just Bean Gill. You can just Google Bean Gill and you'll find me kind of everywhere. And then my website is callmebean.com. It will be going through a big revamp soon. But yeah, I'm open to talking to anybody, really. I talk a lot about disability etiquette. And so if anybody has any questions or wants to dig into this further or just anything, I'm so open about it and just like no holds barred. So like there are no taboo topics. I will also just do a shameless plug for my TV show called It's called Push. It's on CBC Gem. There are 2 seasons out. And it's a docuseries about my life and the lives of my friends, the Wheelie Peeps. And we just want to we show what our lives are so that we can remove some of these barriers and stigmas and biases that people have towards people with disabilities. And also just to show that like, we're just normal people too. Yeah. We're all regular people. We just move different, talk differently, think differently, act differently.
That's beautiful. That's so good. Okay, so if you were to share one more thing from your heart to the listener's heart, what would you want to share?
Oh my gosh. Live. Don't hide. Don't exist. Live. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is the only chance you get. So don't waste it.
Wow. I felt that. Go live. Go live, people. I'm going to go live. Thank you so much for just bringing your heart into this. I do recommend, like follow Bean. I love that you are sharing not only your story, but like etiquette and all the things. Like you're doing it in a way that also feels approachable, and it's like, good. Let's just help people, which I think is great.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be rocket science.
No, it doesn't have to be complicated. I love it. Thank you so much. Sending you so much love.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Woohoo!
Thanks for listening to WTF. Where's the fun?
We're Andrea and Mel, and we're so excited to be on this journey with you to see how fun it can get.
If today's episode brought a little bit more fun into your world, be sure to subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review.
And remember, life and business is so much better when you're following the fun. So let's have some fun.